Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and it's time to talk about Bob Iger finally chiming in on these Martin Scorsese and now Francis Ford Coppola comments, all criticizing Marvel as not cinema and as despicable. This thing is just getting out of hand. I don't understand what Coppola and Scorsese are doing. For those that don't recall, we reported on Martin Scorsese doing it, but then Francis Ford Coppola came out and called them despicable. He said, "Scorsese, hold my beer." When Martin Scorsese says that the Marvel pictures are not cinema, he's right, because we expect to learn something from cinema. We expect to gain something, some enlightenment, some knowledge, some inspiration. I don't know that anyone gets anything out of seeing the same movie over and over again. Martin was kind when he said it's not cinema. He said he didn't say, hey, he didn't say it's despicable, which I just say it is. There's just feels like there's just a lot of bitterness to this. No one should be deeming one genre or medium more or less worthy of being called cinema, said Lee Unrich from Pixar. I've met Coppola twice, and both times he acted kind of dismissively towards the films we'd make at Pixar. Really bummed me out, so I can imagine how the Marvel filmmakers feel. Look, everyone's sort of getting annoyed by this because we look up to these filmmakers. We look up to Francis Ford Coppola, The Godfather, one of the best films ever, Apocalypse Now, Scorsese and all his films, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver. Of course we look up to these films, but there's something about just how much they're just ragging on these movies. And James Gunn put out a statement too that sort of really helped, I think, put perspective into it too, of just like when, his grandfather, they would be against gangster movies. They were all the same, or Westerns were all the same, or Star Wars was just a ripoff of 2001. So it's sort of a generational thing where all sort of new Western space movies all sort of end up feeling very similar or not art. And that's sort of what happened. So I do think while Scorsese and Coppola are classic filmmakers that can think whatever the hell they want, I do think they're misguided here. So I was curious to see what Bob Iger said. So the Wall Street Journal had him there, and he's the man in charge of it all. So he's going to probably handle this diplomatically. But let's watch. This is on tape, so we can actually hear him say it directly.
But I know you feel strongly about the storytelling. So does it bother you when Martin Scorsese and Ken Loach dismiss superhero movies as not real movies?
And Francis Ford Coppola, who used the word despicable.
Doesn't bother you at all if you can throw him in.
Well, it doesn't bother me,
Yeah.
except I'm bothered on behalf of the people who work on those movies. So
What don't
I
they
don't
see?
take it personally.
But what don't they see in your view?
Well, they don't see how the audience is reacting to them, first of all. They're entitled to their opinions. Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese are two people I hold in the highest regard in terms of the films they've made, the films I've liked, the films, we've all watched. But when Francis uses the word, those films are despicable, I'd reserve the word despicable to someone who committed mass murder. These are movies. To whom is he talking? Is he talking to Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel, or Taika Waititi, who directs, or Ryan Coogler, who directs for us, or Scarlett Johansson, or Chad Boseman? I mean, I can name a number of people. Robert Downey Jr. So I don't quite get what they're trying to criticize us for when we're making films that people obviously are enjoying going to because they're doing so by the millions. And frankly, the business of, the motion picture, the distribution business, or the theatrical exhibition business, as it's called worldwide, has relatively thin margins. And when those theaters run movies, not just like ours, because there are other blockbusters out there too, that do exceedingly well for them, and they make a lot of money on them, that actually gives them the ability to run other films that might not be as successful, but there are people in different places that want to see them. So I think it's a real blend, and I refused, I think I've sounded maybe a little bit more defensive than I wanted to be. I don't really feel a need to defend what we're doing. We are in the business of, first of all, we're in the business of making money. We're in a profitable business. At the same time at Disney, we're trying to balance that with telling great stories to the world and infusing them with great values and supporting a employee base of well over 200,000 people around the world with great care and frankly, respect. So I just don't, I'm puzzled by it. If they want to bitch about movies, it's certainly their right. I don't know. I don't understand. It seems so disrespectful to all the people that work on those films who are working just as hard as the people who work on their films and are putting their creative souls on the line just like they are. You tell me Ryan Coogler making Black Panther is doing something that is somehow or another less than what Marty Scorsese or Francis Ford Coppola have ever done on any one of their movies? Like, come on. Yeah, I said it.
Wow, there you go. So he went hard, and I actually like that because typically someone like that is going to play it safe. And Disney traditionally doesn't want to get into these kind of conversations. But Bob Iger's been forced out there to promote this book. So he's being more vocal. And I've been hard on Bob Iger. I'm like, why are you releasing this book? I still think it's odd. But he did a conversation with Oprah. I'm not the biggest Oprah fan, but Oprah at least was there, was filling in for Bradley Cooper, some talk they did. It's on YouTube. But Bob Iger tells a story about how he opened up Disneyland China the same day that the Pulse shooting happened, and apparently the shooting was supposed to be at Disneyland. So he heard that horrific news while he's opening this park in China, which was his biggest accomplishment. He couldn't believe they got that to happen and made this American dream in China and obviously money, all the stuff. And then on to add to it, it was the same week that child died by being bitten by the alligator in the park. And he talks about how he opens the book this way to sort of show you just how it can go from your highest highs to your lowest lows. And when I listened to him tell that story, I didn't feel like it was exploited at all. I really felt a heart from him and just a well-spoken, smart guy talking about it, and just also how hard that day was. I can't even imagine. And he shares a lot, all with the permission of the family of that child who died. But my point is, I've given some newfound respect for Iger. I understand why everybody respects him. I understand why people don't like Disney and get mad. But he just said it. He's in a business to make money, and he's doing very good at it. And a lot of people are happy to work for him. There's not a lot of complaints about him out there in the world. And he's been the number one power player if you go to any power list for the last thing. So he knows what he's talking about. And I think he should be frustrated to hear what these Scorsese and Coppola are saying. And what's the last money maker that Coppola has made? So it's hard to not see Coppola, especially Coppola, even more so than Scorsese. It's hard to not see them as bitter here. Look, Marvel movies are kind of becoming the same. I hear that. I'm not saying Marvel movies are perfect, but that some of them are really fantastic. Winter Soldier is fantastic. I think Black Panther is pretty solid. The first Iron Man is a really good origin film. There is emotional weight to them. I do think they're cinema. Any movie that takes place in a cinema is technically cinema. And some of the dumbest movies out there we still can enjoy and speak to us as film goers. So I think I applaud Bob Iger sort of having the guts to go against them and actually say something. And I wish they would do that more often. Usually Disney steers away from sort of commenting on things like this. But I think they can't resist because they're offended. They're frustrated. They're like, we're not making fun of you. What are you doing? What are we? I didn't say anything about you, Coppola. I didn't say anything about you, Scorsese. Do you want me to start talking about Jack or Jeepers Creepers? Coppola's had some stinkers and non-cinema, I would say, in his background. So I don't know. It just seems odd to take a shot when who's perfect. Why throw the first stone? Is sort of what it is. Just make your movies and say they're not your thing. That's fine. Say they're not. Look, they're not my cup of tea. But I'm glad a lot of people like them. I just can't help but think they're just jealous, that they're just mad that their films don't get as wide and long of a weekend as the people. And I don't think either of them really care that much. I remember when Howard Stern was interviewing Robert Downey Jr. to get his thoughts on this specific subject. Even Howard was like, Robert Downey Jr. was like, do you really think he cares? But as Howard said, I think they do. Who doesn't? Who doesn't have a little bit of ego, even when you're Scorsese at that level, of I want people to want my movies. I want people to want to go see movies and pay for them and be able to make the movies I want. I'm freaking Scorsese. And, Scorsese couldn't get The Irishman made until Netflix ponied up a ton of money and the streaming games have changed sort of the way it is. But, Scorsese's not always a money maker. He's one of those respectful directors that we want to see and does do okay. Usually breaks even, at least, if not some profit, and people want to work with him, so he'll be able to work for the rest of his life, no, undoubtedly. But he's no Iron Man. He's not going to bring in that kind of dough. And Coppola nowhere near that. So I just think it's unfounded and weird for them to go on record like they're doing. And I again, like I said, I applaud Iger. What do you guys think? It's a business. Iger's doing a business play, and he's the most successful person in Hollywood. And he's doing it year after year. Whether the movies are good or not, he knows how to make them money. And I think, that's what his job is. And as long as he's succeeding there, that's what he's supposed to do. And I do think, given the money, the Marvel movies are at least attempting to tell this bigger narrative and be interesting. And sure, there's some that miss, but there have been a lot that hit. I think Guardians, Iron Man, like I said, Winter Soldier, there are a lot of them that worked. Ragnarok, those are fun and sometimes emotionally worthy movies. I would argue even Infinity War and parts of Endgame, both. Like, it affected a lot of people in the audience. Does that make them dumb? Does that make them not appreciate art? I mean, that just seems stupid for Coppola or Scorsese to just say the audiences are so dumb that they don't know what they're doing. They should come see Apocalypse Now again. Apocalypse Now is a hard watch. It's a great film. It's a classic, but it's not one I want to rewatch over and over again. Sometimes I want to pop in Iron Man, and I can say they're both good. We should be allowed to. So I hope this starts dying down and people stop talking about it. But I admire his honesty of sort of Iger not wanting to give in and be on record seeming defensive. But even Iger, who's arguably more powerful and respected, in the community right now than even, let's be honest, Scorsese or Coppola. Great from a body of work. Of course, we go to the directors, but no one in town would anybody in town would rather talk to Bob Iger right now than Scorsese or Coppola. It's just that's because Iger can make things happen. He's the biggest power player for the past decade, at least. So for him to show defensiveness, just shows Scorsese and Coppola clearly are having some feelings too. So that's my feelings. Again, like I said, hit me up down below in the comments or on social media at Twitter, Instagram. Please follow me over there. Be sure to subscribe, hit the little notification bell for alerts, and stay tuned for more videos. Please check out my last video about Trevor Noah, really important video for me. I got a little personal with it. And I'll be doing another video club this Thursday night, 9 p.m. We got special guest Fake Arnold, Josh Robert Thompson. We're watching Terminator 3, so watch it before then. It's going to be a blast. And I think we got something fun next week too. So keep staying tuned live Thursdays, 9 p.m. for our video club. Thanks everybody. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Bye.